Hello and welcome to Riverside Crafts. I'm Ray, and today I'm showing you how I stamp on fabric to make an embroidery project. I'm going to be using this cactus stamp from Woodware, which is by Francois Reed. It's not a simple one, so it's not too difficult to sort out. So I'm just going to show you where I start. Right, stamping platform as always. Piece of fabric I've cut out is just roughly, it's a piece of linen, and we have it in stock. You buy it by the meter, and it's nice to work on. It's because it's quite an open weave, so it's quite easy to work on. Okay, so Versifying Claire again, as normal, nothing too amazing here. So Versifying Claire. And then we're just going to stamp it down, apply some pressure. And I've got my print. I'm not expecting it to be a really dark print. It's going to be slightly faded, which is fine because I'm going to embroider. I don't really want to see great bright black lines around what I'm working on. Okay, so I did that bit, put that out of your way. Now I've coloured my linen. As you can see here, it's got pretty colours on it. It's not just the cream. I've actually used Pixie Powders, so I'm going to show you how I do that quickly, because I do that before I start my embroidery work. And I'm using, this one is Aqua Lagoon, and we do have Pixie. I'm just sprinkling it around, not too heavy, a little bit, okay. And I'm just going to add a little bit of another blue in, I think, maybe. Well, no, actually, I'm going to leave it like it is actually today, I think, and go from there. And I'm literally just going to spritz it and get it damp. And then the colour will move for you. So that works quite nicely like that. As you can see, it's starting to move. If you've got some bigger splots, just add in more colour where you want it. And you get some really quite nice effects come up. Okay, and then you just leave it and let it just do its thing. All right, because by leaving it, let it do its thing, you'll get a lot more pattern and it will spread more, and it'll give you a lot more interesting results to finish with. So I leave that somewhere safe to dry. Okay, I'm just going to pick up any extra bits of colour I've got stuck to underneath, because they might as well go on it as well. Right, so let's put that to one side to dry. And here we go. So, embroidering. This is just bog standard, normal embroidery thread, DMC. We have it in the shop, and I'm not splitting it. So I'm not worrying about splitting it down at the moment into little threads. I'm just literally using it as it is, because I want this to look like sort of quite a crude embroidery, sort of very chunky. And all I'm doing is what they call a satin stitch. So I'm literally going in and out next door to where I've been before, and I'm just repeating it up and down over what I'm doing. For this, I've used a variegated thread, which we also sell at the shop. No problems there. And the variegated thread gives you a slightly different feel for what you're doing, which is quite nice. You need sort of like 3 greens, maybe 4 if you're not using a variegated thread. You need a couple of colours for your flowers, and then whatever colours it is you fancy for your bowl at the end. But every single piece of it, all the decoration bits, are all done with satin stitch. And I'll show you the other stitches that I've used. Okay, so you can see how that fills in quite quickly. So it's nice and easy to do, not too much work. Okay, and one of the things I do is whichever way it is the direction of the actual piece of the cactus is the direction that I'm doing the satin stitching, so that it actually gives you the feeling that they're separate bits coming off and out from it. Okay, I'm just using a normal embroidery needle, nothing different to normal there. So it's just a bog standard normal embroidery needle. Okay, right, so that's showing you that bit. Now I'm going to show you how I did my flowers, because the flowers I've used, if you can see here, I've used a slightly different stitch. It's called a lazy daisy, and that and I've just got something that's just gone on the floor. That's not so good, is it? Right, so let's pick a strand of thread. I've got some pink here, which is quite pretty. Again, I'm not splitting it. And I'm just going to put a knot at the other end. Okay. There's my knot gone in. Right. Now, I don't know if any of you have ever done chain stitch at school. If you did the embroidery with you at school, all you do is you bring up your needle, you're going to go back down next to the hole that you came out of, and then at the tip, and you're going to wrap that piece of thread. You see it, you're wrapping it around the needle. Okay, and that'll give me a loop. I'm then going to go down, make sure I go down over the thread so it stays there. So I'll do it again. So we're going to go up and go back down as close as I can to where I came up, put the needle through the tip of the petal that I'm seeing, wrap my thread around it, and go make sure I go back down over the thread so that I'm holding it in place. Okay, so do the last one of these, which is quite nice. Okay, and there we go. So that's my flower done on top of my cactus. All right, next I'm going to show you is how I put little spikes here. They're just put on with black thread, and they're literally just a straight stitch, and I'm just putting them in whichever direction I fancy. I used the same stitch here as the one I've done here, but done smaller, and then this is called a French knot. So I'm just going to put a little bit of red over here in it so that you can see, and then I'll put the French knots on because it will just make it look a little bit more interesting. Okay, so put a knot in it again. Again, I'm knotting it. Okay, so another flower here. And again, just wrapping it around it, going back down. Going back down. A little bit of yellow. Where the end is, I don't know. I've used it. I'll put it somewhere. It'll turn up in a bit. There it is. Yellow. Now there are probably proper embroiderers out there that know that's going to say, "Oh, you did that wrong." I probably have, but this is how I've done this, just to make it a bit more interesting. And I've not done a lot of embroidery since I was at school in some ways, so it's all very different. So I've done my knot again. I'm going to come back up because I want to do a French knot this time. I'm going to wrap it around my needle 3 times. I'm going to back down as close as I can to where I came up and pull my thread through. And what it does is it leaves me this nice little knot on the top. Okay, so I'm going to do it again, and I do 3 because it looks, groups of 3 always look nice. back down and through. Okay. 1, 2, 3, down. Hold my thread for a moment so I don't get tangled, and pull my needle through. Oh, no, I don't get tangled. What I don't want to do. What you don't want to do is to get a knot in it like I've just done, because I've got it caught up. Take it off, take it through the back and start again. Okay, that's one of the nice things about doing it like this, because because of what it's for, it's not really, I'm not looking for perfection, which is quite good because I'm not perfect in anything. Right, so we're going to put this through again and wrap it round. 1, 2, 3, back down as close as I can, holding my thread there, so keeping it nice and tight, pulling my needle through. Come on. No, it doesn't want to do it today. Well, I must have gone through the knot again. There we go. There we are. Sorted. So there's my little French knots from a flower here. Okay. And now all I've done around this bit is what we call backstitch. So I'm just going to get some thread so you can see. And I use backstitch here to do the stems there on my other cat piece. So far I've used 1, 2, 3 stitches. This is the 4th stitch to do everything. So I'm going to go here, and to do backstitch, basically I'm going to go up and down and then back through. So I'm coming, I've got my first one there, and I'm just going to go back on myself. So I'm going to go down and then come back up past where that stitch is. Then I'm going back down, and I'm coming up again past where that stitch is, and then going back down again. So all I'm doing is going back down where the stitch is, a little bit ahead of where I was, and going around. That is how I've edged my bowl. Okay, so it's not particularly difficult to do. It's not something you've got to spend a lot of time doing. In some ways it's quite a quick embroidery by comparison to some, and all I did was I did exactly the same as that on all of these bits around the colours so that they stood out. Okay, I'll show you how I did my spikes. So I'm just going to come up and do some spikes. So I've got my black thread on it, and I'm just literally going to do a single straight stitch. I'm going to go down, then I'm going to come up, and I'm going to put some of them at the top so it looks like it's spiking outside of it. Got threads everywhere now. Just a needle. Here we go. And that gives me my spikes quite happily. And I'll do the same on the edge of this here to put the spikes on the edge of this cactus. I'm literally just going to go backwards and forwards, up and down, and just put a few in to give you that sense of it being spiky. So there we go. So that's quite nice and simple, quite easy to see, to do. And then when you've got your finished product like so, I literally just trimmed around my edge here with a pair of pinking shears, untidy back of it definitely, and then that's it done to finish. And I can just put a little hoop on it for it to hang up on the wall. And that was my 4th project with the same stamp, all of them slightly differently, or using a different technique. So I hope you've enjoyed watching, and I look forward to seeing you next time. We're going to be looking at some toadstools, and we're going to be looking at doing this technique. So I hope you'll join me then so that we can do this one. and I look forward to seeing you all next week. Take care and have a good week. Bye.